religion and see comic issue. Regional, international, spiritual issues too. Agricultural, environmental, and trending to subject matter. We fear none, we back down. Freedom of speech is enshrined in the land. God, we freedom, jealous and they in Cuba. Russians and Chinese and lucky like we. Right now, North Korea, wish they had it too. Most of the Caribbean, lucky like we. Studio Galaxy Day for you and me. Galaxy Equalizer, ready like Freddy. And Studio Galaxy 473 in Confero. We freedom of speech is sacrosanct. Make use of it. Let no one challenge. Blow your shell, beat your drum, tell others. Like and share, subscribe and discuss it too. Let the world know Studio Galaxy is around.
51536.
Studio Galaxy in Confero, hope you know. 473 standing strong is yours, you know. The medium, an opportunity for you. Make your contribution, let them know. Blow your shell, beat your drum, tell others. Like and share, subscribe and discuss it too. Let the world know Studio Galaxy is a road. God, we freedom, jealous and in Cuba. Russians and Chinese and lucky like we. Rand and North Korea, wish they had it too. Most of the Caribbean, lucky like we. Studio Galaxy Day for you and me.
Welcome, my brothers. Welcome, my sisters. Our brothers and sisters from the diaspora and any part of the world that you have an opportunity to listen to us. Welcome to Studio Galaxy 473 in Confero. And you are with the Galaxy Equalizers, Joshua and me. And this morning,
Who are you?
we're going to speak about what should the government do with their farm. Mm-hmm. We have to stop broadside. We have to zero in. We have to be surgical. We have to reach to the point. Our political directorates have to stop playing game. But we, the ordinary man, must demand. Government is the biggest farmer in Grenada. Government have access to the latest technology. Government have the most money. And government have the most trained individuals involved in agriculture. Most of them have a briefcase, a certificate, walking around. They're looking puzzled. They look disoriented. So we have to direct them. We want you to share our program, like our program, and call the program. The number is 536-2558. The farmers in particular, we want to engage you. We provoke discussion. What should the government of Grenada do with the farm? This morning, we're coming up with suggestions. We are criticizing NDC or NNP. We're making suggestions. What should the government do with the farm? And we want to encourage you to take part in the discussion and continue to come up with your own ideas. They're not bound to take it, but we mustn't afraid to give it. And with us is Joshua.
Good morning to everybody. Good morning, Francis. I know you introduce yourself as me, but the viewers now know you, Francis. I'm very happy, as always, to be here. engaging in the discussion to see how, in whatever way, sometimes we get, an attitude that we don't know anything, we can't do anything, somebody else is going to do it. But that's the worst thing we could do. All of us have an opinion. As long as we're not disrespectful, those opinions should be shared, and we should debate them, etc. So, what should we do with the government estates? Now, I think before we jump into the subject, we must get a little bit into the background, and I'm going to be brief in terms of the background. Essentially, agriculture really hasn't worked as well as we would like it to work. The productivity in the Caribbean overall is said to be generally low. We have a lot of inhibitors in terms of investment in the industry. We have climate change. We have a lack of secondary processing. And although from time to time we have a Caribbean leader who might show some leadership in terms of agriculture, we've not had that sustainable approach to agriculture, especially in terms of Grenada. I know we lacked a recovery plan from Beryl. We don't have a strategic plan for agriculture, and we don't have a plan in terms of secondary processing. So it's like any road would do. Now, I tend to say, agriculture involves all of us. And Mr. Pierre have said several times, 80% of the people are involved in agriculture. Now, the last major structural change that we've had in agriculture is privatization. The government had a policy that the government estates were not working, and I guess they probably took the view something has to happen, because it was probably draining the treasury. So privatization seemed to be the solution, but in fact privatization did not work. All the estates that went into privatization either are back with the government or they're struggling. So, it's easy in terms of privatization. It generally means somebody else is responsible to get the money, the technology, etc. So it hasn't really worked. And in my kind of view, it hasn't worked because we've not had a system of identifying where we're going, what we need. I take the firm view that government need to look for partners that can bring technology transfer to the farms, that can make the farms profitable, that we need to know what value added crops we should plant, what traditional crops we should plant. And I also take the view, and it's probably a view that might be a little controversial. I really believe the Ministry of Agriculture should be run as a business, and therefore the PS and the technical advisors in that ministry should have some business training as part of their background to running the ministry. Quite often, if you are, a general manager, etc., there are postgraduate courses that run for a year which teach you in no time the basics of business while you're still doing your job. I say that because I went through one of those courses. It's very difficult. It's harrowing for the individuals running the department and also being back at university. But I think at the end of it all, it makes you a better manager. It makes the department you're running more effective, and you just have no more tools in your toolbox to actually deliver result. So essentially, that is my view in terms of what government should do with their estate. The other thing that I saw government doing is parceling out their estate. So giving some people 5 acres here, 5 acres there. I'm never sure how it's done or the criteria for doing that. But I know in terms of one of the estates that we talked about, Granbus, there's a few farmers who have been leased lands for either cattle, they've leased lands for cash crop, etc. So it feels to me as though there isn't really a strategy how we going forward in terms of the government estate. But I believe that we need to look back and see what hasn't worked, and really to start looking at what could work. But not only must it work, it must be profitable. And in order to be profitable, we must have people who are the strategists and who are leading these estates, who have a bit of a business background. It does not have to be full business background, but the estates should be judged to a degree on the progress they made towards profitability. That's my view, Mr. Pierre. What do you say?
What should the government do with the farm? Right now, when you watch government farm, the government look lazy, inept, lackadaisical, and as if they don't know what to do and confused. This is unacceptable. The Ministry of Agriculture have master's degree, bachelor's degree, diploma, PhD. They travel all over the world. They have seen all different modules and different technology.
Yeah, I agree.
We have to hold them account and demand that the government farm reflect the government policy. Grenada export cocoa, nutmeg, sauersup, and fish. You don't have to be no rocket scientist. We have a market for cocoa, we have a market for nutmeg, and we have a market for fish.
Big market.
The market for nutmeg and cocoa not going nowhere. It will be there for a long, long time. So what we need to do is government farm must have cocoa in it. And the cocoa in the government farm must be a model. So you must be practically showing farmers, when you say 10 acres of cocoa, what you mean. The government must be able to tell the farmers the productivity on that farm. The husbandry practices on the farm must be top, because government have the best brain in agriculture. If it's brain you're looking for, go in agriculture. Some lazy brain. We, the ordinary man, have to demand. If you have a briefcase, a certificate, you must practicalize it. So when a farmer wants to prune his cocoa, the extension officer could bring 300 farmers on the government farm. And they say, what you have in your land is not cocoa. That is cocoa. They must see the hedge, the windbreaks, prepare for the ground wind. You must see cocoa bearing from the stalk, from the tree, not only in the branches. So it must be well pruned. So the husbandry practices for the main crops that we export, farmers must go on the government farm and see it.
Yeah, I think you make some solid points there. What I think has been the inhibitor over the years is probably the lack of accountability, and the accountability probably is due to not having a business approach to these farms, because I really do believe that the farms can work as a model for the country in terms of the farmers, as Mr. Pierre says. So it could be, where we go to see
If
best
you
practice.
have, my brother, if you have a child, you have one child, because modern day women is either one child or 1.5 child there.
Yeah.
The man have a good job, the woman have a good job. They make no demand on that child. That child grew up without discipline, no principle. He fat. He greedy. He have no responsibility because one child you have 1.5.
Yeah.
Don't matter how much money you have, that child do good. If you dey make a pig, it is better. Sometimes you barbecue it and eat some barbecue.
Yeah.
You have, and this is the same thing that happened in the government farm.
Uh-huh.
Government have a farm,
Yeah.
and whether they make money or they don't make money, they get in the pay.
Yeah.
The ordinary man have to demand. The government have to do better.
Yeah, they need to contribute towards the treasury rather than bleeding the treasury. And that's why they went into privatization. It hasn't worked.
It is because of bad policies. Because some of the economists they bring down to check the profitability of government farm, those economists don't good.
They don't go to...
They sit down and they say, how much we spend on that farm? 200,000 for the year.
Yeah.
How much money we bring in? 100,000. The farm do good. They never ask what is the economic impact of that farm in the community.
Yeah.
The economists that we have is joke economists, look at book economists.
Yeah, they don't...
They never ask what is the economic impact. So let me give you an example.
Yeah.
I don't want to call names, so let me say John Galt. John Galt lived in a community and he was known as a big farmer. And John Galt had 22 children. John Galt had 6-7 vehicles. And John Galt made only $10,000 for the year. But he has 69 workers that he paying. And he made $10,000 for the year. And he's upset. I don't make money. Last year I make 50,000. This year I make 10. But none of John Galt's children are working. He have some children 28 years old, he mining them. So the economic impact of John Galt's farm cannot be calculated only on the cash return of what he sells.
Yeah.
And that is where our economists have been failing us.
Yeah, so the impact in terms of employment,
employment and the general impact. You have a government have a farm in a low socio-economic area.
Yeah.
Beside the nutmeg and the cocoa and the soursop that you sell, a number of people grazing the sheep on the farm.
Yeah.
They're grazing the cow on the farm.
Yeah.
They're fishing on the farm. And they're robbing on the farm too.
Yeah.
They're digging wild yam on the farm. So while the government is not charging them for pre-deal larceny, but these people grazing on the farm.
Yeah.
So when the economists come to give government analyze the situation, the economist is not speaking about the economic impact of the farm in that community. So based upon the report, a dumb politician might come and say, sell the farm.
Yeah.
And as a result of selling the farm, the new owner say, I don't need 68 workers. I just need 10 workers.
Yeah.
So automatically the elder workers that are on the farm that the government would not have sent home a fire, a private man fire them.
Yeah.
And now the government have 300 people in the community.
On the seed program.
So angry, they're on all program. So our politicians have to understand. The Ministry of Education making money. The police making money. The Mental Institute making money. When the government analyzing the Mental Institute, they don't ask how much money you bring in. So if you have an agriculture farm in the area, and 80% of the people in your country are directly or indirectly involved in the farm, The government farm have to set the standard.
Yeah, yeah. But in order to set the standard, Mr. Pierre, I think we've kind of designed the farms and some of the ministry for failure. And I'm going to talk and use a few words that, I've started using. And, we've never really engaged as an island or a country in terms of decolonizing our system. We inherited systems from the British and we've just continued it. We've never said, is that system that we operate in fit for purpose? Obviously, a lot of it is not fit for purpose. That's why we continue to fail in certain areas. And I firmly believe that the government estates can be profitable, but I think you need different personnel and a different approach in terms of...
Why do you think we take that position?
Why do I take the position?
Why do you think Grenada took that position, to have that position?
Yeah, I think it's easy. I think it's easy to take that position. I think it's easy to come and meet a system.
And stick in it.
And
we have not demanded our intelligentsia to be productive in the country. So you have a fellow come, he went and studied. He become a medical doctor, a lawyer, economist, etc. Mm-hmm. And all you see from them after 40 years, they have a house and a car.
Yeah.
Watch around. Yeah. All you see from them, they build a big house and they have a car. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And later on, when they feel they're broken, they might put 2 apartments below. They're unproductive. Because people believe that when you get higher loaning, that is it. You reach where you're going.
Yeah.
And we, the ordinary man, has not demanded more from our best brain.
Yeah.
The United States of America have the best, well-oiled army in the world. Mm-hmm. If they had any doubt, all Russia, everybody must be afraid. They sent some stealth bomber and dropped 30,000 pound of bomb on Iran.
Oh dear.
Whether they obliterate the nuclear or not is not the issue, because they could send more. You have your ordinary soldiers. Let's use Grenada, for example. You have the police force. But you have CID. Mm-hmm. Now, CID is more specialized in crime research.
Yeah.
Then you have the SSU. Mm-hmm. You train them, and you give them gun, and you give them shield to go and beat up people when they get in trouble. So although you have the ordinary army, you have people who are with more specialized training.
Rapid response force.
Rapid response force. Beat you and bust up your head and let the government pay.
Yeah.
Now, the Grenada, we have the people in the country. And the majority of people, we consider them as ordinary folks who have not had higher learning. Mm-hmm. But the people who have higher learning, they are some of them, the majority of them, are the most unproductive people in the country. Mm-hmm. Let us take an example like a medical doctor. Mm-hmm. A medical doctor take about 7 or 8 years training. Yeah. That must cost the government about $500,000. Mm-hmm. Whether they pay directly or in collaboration with a friendly country.
Yeah.
That doctor have to go to the medical station to work. Mm-hmm. He's expected to reach the 9. The people come in the medical station since 6:30. Mm-hmm. They're waiting to give their name only. Mm-hmm. The doctor come about 10:30.
Oh, God.
And the doctor say only 30 people he taking.
Yeah.
So because he taking 30 people, the people reach since 6:30 to wait for when the medical station open 8:30. And for the nurse to take 30 names, so the day in line, I come first, I come second, I come 13th, I come 16th. And when the doctor come, he attend to 30 of them within the space of 1.5 to 2, because he have to go back in his office.
Yeah.
That doctor should go in jail. He should be fired. He's a bandit.
Yeah.
He used government education, and he refused to be productive. He becomes selfish. It's about he and he alone. And we, the ordinary man, we had the most respect for him.
Yeah.
And it goes with the legal fraternity.
yeah.
Most of the lawyers, some lawyers now get scholarship. In yesteryear, most of them parents send them
Yeah.
and study. Nowadays, some of the young lawyers getting scholarship to go.
Yeah.
They take people money. They tell them you have a good case.
But
And the day of the case, they tell them plead guilty.
yeah, but Mr. Pierre, you used to talk, not used to, I guess that's still your view. You used to say that it's not the workers to blame,
Managers.
but the managers.
Yeah, that's why I blame the managers.
Yeah, but I tend to agree with you to a degree, but the workers have a share of the blame as
You
well.
take these same workers, you drop them in Singapore, Japan, Israel, they change overnight.
Yeah.
Since they're on the plane going to Israel, they change.
Yeah, you have a
So,
point.
management.
Yeah,
But our management could get away with it because the ordinary man sit down like cry baby and
Yeah.
blaming colonialism.
Yeah.
Colonialism is not to blame.
and accepting the unfair treatment.
We have to, the government is the biggest farmer in the country. Government have the most educated, trained personnel in the country. Government have the most contact with universities, China, Singapore, any part of the world. They're traveling as if them is a hostess.
Yeah.
So why is it the government estates are not in pinker form?
Yeah, and I can tell you fully in terms of my kind of views that I hold. I think first we have to have a business plan for all their estates. So if you run
They're taking 5 years to make a business plan.
yeah, if you
By
run,
the time they make a business plan, government come in power.
yeah, if you're running an estate and you're in charge of an estate, the first thing you should be held accountable for is the business plan for the estate. The second thing that you should be held accountable for is the implementation of the business plan. And the third thing that you should be held responsible for, if that estate does not make a profit, then you should know that either you have a plan to make a profit or you have to find another job.
The government have a good structure. The government have a permanent secretary. The permanent secretary is an insulator. One of their role is an insulator between the politician and the workers. So to avoid the workers from absorbing political retribution, you have the permanent secretary. But sometimes you have the permanent secretary is a bandit. The permanent secretary is an agent of the politician. You have a chief technical officer. Because the politician may not know about technical things. The politician may not know about pest management unit, the veterinary division, etc. So the permanent secretary, when you have meetings, you will have all the heads of the department with the permanent secretary. But remember, the permanent secretary is also an insulator. It's like a piece of pipe, a conduit between the electrical wire. The politician is the electrical wire. So to save the workers from the politician, you have the permanent secretary. You have a chief technical officer and you have extension officers. You have the government estate. The government estate have a whole set of staff. So maybe they need to have less hierarchy staff. From the technical officer, you employ a manager for the estate. That manager now, you monitor him every 2-3 years to see what is in place. If you have cocoa, you have cocoa extension. So an extension officer, part of their responsibility, additional responsibility, is I am the cocoa czar on government estate. I am the livestock officer. I am in St. Patrick's, but I'm also the livestock officer for government estates. I am the source of czar. So although I'm working in St. David's, I am the extension officer for soursop on government estate. I'm responsible for the husbandry practices. When I see something, I go to the manager and I say, these things going on, you need to implement it. you evaluate these individuals for their productivity, whether they meet their objectives or not.
Yeah. And I tend to agree with you in terms of the way that you're going, because to me, it's basic business principle has to work.
Well, how would you Firestone and Franco and Mr. Rondeland? Them alone, you know?
Yeah. So you really have to kind of, be fair to the people, of Grenada and say, we cannot continue how we are because it's not working. Just because we continue to get
You're working for those individuals at the island, they don't have to do nothing.
Yeah.
They just calm the system. These people are robbers.
Yeah.
When you calculate it, you see these things in front of your eyes.
Yeah.
Grenada today have a market for soursop. We are the only country in the region that can sell fresh soursop to the U.S. market.
Yeah.
Government have estate growing bamboo, bacano, and baliji.
Yeah.
I ain't saying bamboo don't good, you know. People say bamboo does make you hot.
Yeah.
Some of them men might drink bamboo, they realize they don't hot, so they stop drinking.
But if you see the factory in places like the Far East, that
Well,
what they're
we're
doing,
not in the Far East, in Grenada.
what they're doing with bamboo.
We use bamboo to prop up for scaffold.
Yeah, but if that technology transfer as well, we talk about that
So-
doesn't happen.
So what the government need to do is to plant 50 acres of soursop tomorrow.
Yeah.
And in the next 3 years, we have 50 acres of soursop in production.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is not magic.
Oh, rocket science.
You don't have to think.
Yeah.
You assign an extension officer Jim Brown. You responsible for soursop in the damn country
Yeah.
on government estate.
Yeah.
So in addition to the fact that extension officer Jim Brown might be working in St. David's, they have different agricultural district. You are also responsible for soursop on government estates.
Yeah, I understand the model you're talking about, and I think it
You
would
must work.
Yeah.
If you don't work, you fire extension officer Jim Brown after 2 years.
Yeah.
You say you do good. I send you to do soursop. Look at the soursop.
Yeah. So
Disease take it. Why the cotton scale insect overtake the soursop on government estate? Jim Brown, you asking that, you know?
Yeah, no, I agree with the accountability approach that you're advocating, and I firmly believe that it's not complex to get
That's simple.
the government estate to work. And let me just advance the model because that I have in mind, because it's similar to what you are advocating. I really believe that the structure that we're currently using for agriculture needs to be looked at and needs to be more effective. And I think the way that it could be more effective is not setting up the PSs. You can't put a person in a position that doesn't have the tools to do the job.
The PS and them have all the tools.
But let me finish.
Government have money.
Yeah, let me finish. But to do the jobs that you want them to do, the skill. If you put somebody in position of a business that basically has the mentality of a public servant approach, and then you say run the business, the estates are businesses. They are supposed to be making a profit. Just as you said, in terms of you break it down into terms of subgroups, you have livestock, you have soursop, you have the cash crop, and you have different people who are specialists who are responsible for that, and you hold them accountable for that. But more importantly, you hold the manager of the farm accountable, and also you introduce profit sharing. The farm makes a profit, we all get a little bit of
But there's a new dimension now.
Yeah.
You're talking as if he's a socialist.
That's not socialism.
Well, that is part of what the socialists encourage.
Yeah, let me explain that. The reason why America is so dynamic in terms of their system and in terms of their companies is because the chief executive and the board, they get a percentage of the profit that the company makes, and that is what drives them to make more profit, because if the company does well, they do well. And in fact, when I do consultancy, it's based on what I bring to the company. I get a percentage. I'm not looking for handout, or I'm not looking for, big payday. I'm saying I'm bringing you $100, and out of that $100, I want $10 for myself. It's a fair game.
I have advanced the view that working with government is the best job you could hold. And I
agree with you.
I still say that all the time. When somebody is employed with government, I believe that's the best, the most patriotic job, the best job, the jobs that give you the most opportunity, government job.
Yeah, expand.
What the problem we have, we are not held accountable.
Okay. And
No one is held accountable.
How long were you in the government service, Mr.?
Too long. So what you see happening, you have the politician and you have the permanent secretary. And I said before, the permanent secretary also acts as an insulator between the politician and the workers. Under the permanent secretary, you have the chief technical officer.
Yeah.
And under the chief technical officer, you have a lot of departmental heads.
Yeah.
So the permanent secretary cannot write you directly. You have to pass through the chain of command.
Yeah.
The politician cannot give you no instruction. If he's your partner, he tell you a thing and so then you give him a blind.
Yeah.
And sometimes he believe he could control you.
Yeah.
Now, for the system to be more effective, the government come with the policies. And the workers must implement the government policy. If the government don't have a policy, then you end up going nowhere fast. And that's what happening in the country. The government policy, by the time you finish with it, it's taking 2 years. So you end up going nowhere fast.
Yeah. Well, the policy might be there, but very few people.
Well, that's why by the time you finish, you could work with government for 40 years, you don't know the government policy on agriculture.
You can't find it.
Where you go find it? The government all can find it.
Yeah.
So we need, the government is the biggest farmer in Grenada.
Yeah.
All countries,
Yeah.
that 80% of our people are directly or indirectly involved in agriculture
Yeah.
are poor countries.
Yeah, but Mr. Pierre, you talk, and the theme that you advocate in seem to be accountability, and that cuts across the whole of government, and to a degree in some private
Let's stick with
companies,
agriculture.
Yeah,
Because the private man want to make money. The private man is driven by money. He find his wife if you don't making money.
yeah. So
He say, better leave me wife home and bring me keeper in this farm. Me keeper doing a better job. You doesn't see that happening on the farm? In private sector? You leave your wife home, buy television, give her, bring food, let her get fat, and bring your keeper in the farm and let the keeper work.
yeah, Mr. Pierre, you're talking about things I don't know. I don't have a
Well,
wife.
I know you don't know this thing, but I know. I didn't talk long. I know.
Yeah, I don't
I
have
see it happening.
I don't have a wife and I don't have a keeper.
I
So
know.
I'm at a
Did you
disadvantage.
listen, we have to be realistic. Watch all the businesses in Grenada. Successful business. You see children in the business. Any business you see children and wife, they're begging them to come in the business. Watch the business of the Jews and the Indians and other races.
Yeah. Let me just respond to the accountability theme that you seem to be advancing. I think, the management office in government or administration, I know they have advanced appraisal to hold people accountable, that the the government department should do appraisal with the workers and set their targets.
This is an initiative from the union to bring more money in workers' pocket. That have nothing to do with you. Yeah. What's wrong with you? Yeah. That is an initiative from the union.
Yeah. So
get more money in your pocket.
Yeah. Let me share with you my experience of appraisal. I was very fortunate when I was a young manager. I worked with a failing organization. I worked in an area, I think it was an area of about 800,000 people we had responsibility for. And people wouldn't pick up the phone in the company. The phone will be ringing all the time and all those kinds of stuff. And then people just became insensitive to the very people who were paying their wages. And they introduced the appraisal system, and if you met your target, you got about, I think it was about £3,000 in as bonuses. That and changing some of the workers and some of the managers, actually turned the company around, because they were saying, at that time I was just a junior kind of manager learning my way, but the senior managers were saying, if you want change, you got to get rid of some of the managers and bring in positive managers. You have to have incentives in the company. You can't be thinking, I'm going to use the same old kind of approach and I'm going to get a different result. You have to do something radical or kind of a mixture.
Why is it £2,000?
Yeah.
Well, if you introduce that, if you want some people wine for £3,000, they wine for it. But remember, the maple tree could grow in London very good. Yeah. But the maple tree might not grow with the same vigor in Grenada.
Yeah.
What is happening here is because no one is held accountable. We on radio station and we speaking now.
Yeah.
You believe I could go in the Ministry of Agriculture now? When I go inside, you have to be humble like an African maid,
Yeah.
Because everybody set like you. 9 crab drop for me because I say that.
Yeah.
I have to go inside there respectful as an African maid.
Yeah, but it's our country, it's our civil service.
But we could change it.
Yes, and I believe that as well, Mr.
If we continue to hold those discussions, we might get trapped personally, but eventually the country would change.
Yeah, and the thing is, the government estate with the right people in the right position,
The same people are there, you just have to change the attitude.
Yeah.
We have people in Grenada. They've been to China. They've been to Taiwan.
Yeah,
they go back in China again. They go in Morocco. They tell you they're going 30 countries watching agriculture product.
Yeah, they're going for the trip.
Look at Posweda. Posweda is a good example. I could call Posweda name because he was in politics. Posweda was in the lab, seed culture, pest management unit. I wouldn't surprise if Posweda might go in about 10 or 15 countries and train.
Yeah.
Posweda worked for half of his life in the Ministry of Agriculture. He worked for the next half of his life in the commodity boards. And Posweda on the third half of his life. And Posweda was in agriculture,
Yeah.
You see, lunatics and idiots jail them.
Yeah.
He has been in the ministry all his life. You expect Posweda to come up with plans and etc. Look at Peter David. Peter David in government long since in the revolution. When Peter David end up going in agriculture and work, Peter go on a fact-finding mission. That is bullshit. You go there with ideas to make things work in 6 months. People must see things is working. You go on fact-finding mission.
Yeah, you must have a plan.
Which plan? They don't have.
Yeah,
and they know they could get away with it.
Yeah.
What prevent the government of Grenada from planting 50 acres of sauce up?
Yeah.
Somebody tell me.
Yeah, nothing.
We don't have enough sauce up to export. So we have problem in transport. Because even if we hire a plane to come to Grenada, you don't have enough fish and you don't have enough sauce up for the plane to go. If we plant 50 acres of sauce up tomorrow, in the next 3 years, we're going to get sauce up. They say it's 18 months, but you know we poor management skills. So we'll get sauce up in 3 years. You assign an extension officer, one extension officer. In addition to the work you're doing in Gov, you're responsible for the source of husbandry practice in all government estates.
Yeah.
Because that extension officer is a traveling officer. He gets 75% concession to purchase a vehicle. He have a basic allowance and he paid by the mile.
Right.
And don't tell me you don't know, you know. Go on research. Go on the internet. Find out.
Yeah.
And start to do train the trainer. So we don't get result.
Yeah. So the basic salary is low, but all the additional.
No, I don't agree with that. I have been arguing that for the last 40 years. The salaries in Grenada is his relationship to the economy. You can't say salaries in Grenada low. I hear even this lunatic government saying that.
Yeah.
Law is relative.
Yeah.
You're not in United States. You're not in Singapore. You're not in Dubai.
Yeah,
you're in Grenada.
Yeah, but you must let me respond when you make those.
I forget.
Forgive
me, I forget.
When you make those points.
Forgive me.
I mean, we talk often on the program about the 3,000 threshold, you know, that we have, but then, there's lots of people who are, you know, 1,000, they're making, you know, every month or even less. So we have a lot of people who are living, you know, on survival mode. And sometimes I don't know how they survive because, you know, even if you have 2,005 or 3,000, it's difficult. You know, in terms of salary for them. So it's a real challenge. But having said that, all countries have challenge. You know, all sectors have challenge. But I do strongly believe that we can do a lot better in terms of the government estate. And I really want to advance the model that Mr. Pear, you've talked about a little bit. I think accountability is really important. It's key. But I also believe that the personnel sometimes is not equipped in terms of doing what we want them to do. You hear people say, oh, they're not fit for purpose. It just means that, you know, the skills that they have or the strategy that they have is not going to give you the result that you want. But the argument that you've been advancing, I really do believe, and it's similar to what my thoughts are. I really do believe if we break the government estate down as you were breaking them down in terms of a specialist in terms of soursop, a specialist in terms of cash crop, a specialist in terms of husbandry, etc., I really believe that model could work, but it needs to be driven by management that understand business, because essentially the farm is a business. It's not a place where you go and get a rest from what you're doing and then you have some little respite. The farm, Granbers, anybody who goes on Granbers and see the resources that Granbers have, and when I talk about resources, I'm talking about the river, the water, and the flatness of the land. The land is not a challenging land at all, you know. So it's a beautiful resource, and I know you talk about the soursop, and I know that there's been proposal made for Granby Estate to use not 50 acres but 20 acres in terms of the soursop, and you know it's good plan, and you know I really believe that with the right systems in place, accountability and management. Management it differs a little bit from place to place. You have to have managers who have an understanding of business if you're going to put them in charge of agriculture, because a lot of agriculture is business orientated as well as technical. You have your technical officers, but it must be a culture and a focus, of profit, especially the estate. Obviously, the vets are not making profit, but you could, look at, how the farmers can contribute to the vets, etc. So that's my take. I think the breakdown is good that we're talking
I
about.
have great confidence in the skills, the talents, and the knowledge of the extension officers. I have great confidence in it. I know the extension officers are capable. And with the right leadership in extension, though we have the resources here, we have the talents, we have the skills.
Yeah, I know government officers get lots of opportunities for training and those things. And I think that's a good thing. But sometimes, like you say, I don't see the end result.
We can't see the end result because nobody in Grenada is putting pressure on those who lead in us. We putting pressure on the thief. Pretty Lassini. The government mama guy in the farmers training 20, 30 people to go and hold what? Go and hold what? So the police are walking the street.
Yeah.
They could go in Milan.
Yeah.
Next thing you believe them is the thief. We must solve problems.
Yeah.
The government estates must reflect government policy.
Yeah.
We have cocoa, nutmeg, saucer. Government have cocoa, nutmeg, saucer. Government must establish the farm so that other farmers could see the practices, the husbandry practices. That have a cost. So when you're looking at the economic reality of the farm, realize we had 9 training days. 2 extension officers was involved in the 9 training days. We had 200 farmers. That has a cost of $20,000.
Yeah.
So you don't only cost the purpose of the farm in terms of the cocoa, the nutmeg, and the sauce up you sell, but the amount of training.
Yeah.
We opened our farm for tourists. And we had 70 visits by tourists. And the tourists paid $5 to go in a farm.
Yeah.
We offer an opportunity for tourists. If you want to go and juke a cocoa, you could go and pick a cocoa. You could even cut a water nut.
Yeah.
You had an extension officer there helping them. So the government farm is also used in terms of tourism.
And you've been advancing
1,000 years.
You've been advancing that concept for a little while, and I must say that concept has a lot of potential, and I've seen it personally because I get volunteers every so often, and the joy that the tourists or people from abroad get from being involved in the farm, it's enormous, and that can be developed further. I know there's a guy at SUU who does this cook-up for lots of tourists in terms of oil dung. I think he's a lecturer. He used to run for politics in health, and I don't think he got through, but he makes a lot of money, he says, from that kind of tourist involvement in terms of his little farm.
You notice when I'm speaking about agriculture, I don't speak about employment. I'm not going to use agriculture as a means to employ people.
Right.
I believe we have enough farmers in Grenada. We don't have enough good farmers.
Yeah.
So when I speak about agriculture, you notice I don't speak about wages and pay too. Because you have union representing the interests of workers. And when people tell me they don't get enough money, I would ask them, what you mean by enough?
Yeah.
That is a relative term. You can't expect to get the same wage in Grenada as you would get in Dubai. So that's just making that statement is
Yeah.
irrelative.
Yeah.
And if you're on a farm and you're doing 2 hours work, because that is what is required in agriculture on,
Yeah.
on
But
government farms now.
yeah, but one of the things I want to kind of add to that you indicate, but you haven't flushed out. You started indicating this idea that the farm is a socio-economic entity in an area, and the value of that social economic entity in the area cannot be properly measured in terms of how much you make on soursop.
It could be measured, but these economists are they don't good.
Yeah.
Because when they come, they go to the book and they ask,
Yeah.
how much cocoa you sell,
Yeah.
how much nutmeg you sell, what is the situation, and this, that's what I'm to make it
Yeah.
good.
But you make a good point, and I just want to flush it out a little bit more in terms of what the argument was: is government farms profitable? And I think what you are advancing, it's much government farms are much more than profit and loss, in a community. The vitality of the community that they create, the hope that they give to people in that community. I think we could do all of that and make a profit on the farm as well, and increase the workers' benefits and the workers' wages as well, if these things are done in a profitable way. And if we use the model that we've been advocating, not everything, is about profit, but the combination of things overall should give you a profit on a farm.
You see, we went to the Chelsea Flowers Show. Every year we win gold. Now, tell me one government estate that planting flowers.
Yeah.
We are the export on flowers.
Yeah. But that
So what the government need to do is to establish flowers on the estate.
Yeah, but Mr. Pierre, that is one of the saddest thing
Well,
in Grenada is that flower business.
The saddest thing in Grenada is the people leading agriculture don't have much sense. I think we have a caller on the line. He was trying to call. Otherwise, call him. Full something. Yeah, you see, when we provoke discussion, we hope other people will discuss. We don't have answers, but we believe we come up with suggestions.
Yeah.
We are not here with the view of trying to run down agriculture.
Yeah.
What we're saying is we have to do better.
Yeah.
And we believe overnight we could change. Overnight is 5-10 years.
Yeah.
Change will come. But if you get change in 5-10 years, it's good change.
Yeah, and just before we finish, Mr. Pierre, you go first in terms of your summary.
If that person been trying to call for something,
Yeah.
if we get in, that will be good. You see, we need to zero in. We need to be surgical, as if we're going for a tumor.
Yeah.
We need for politicians to stop make excuse. Don't tell me nothing about colonialism. Huh?
Mr. Gates, we need to go a little extra. I could see if we get
If we
call.
get the caller, that caller will entertain him.
Yeah.
We need to provoke the Ministry of Agriculture so they understand. You are the biggest farmer in Grenada. When things bad with farmers, it go bad with you too. But you like the area where the standard is set. You growing livestock. The farmers see how you put your fence in, how you rearrange.
Yeah.
You use a biological fence. You use bamboo rather than going in the lumber yard because that is more economical to the farmer.
Yeah.
You take the drums that come with the oil and the tar that the guys using, you cut it and use it.
Yeah, and Grenadians.
So the farmers could use that rather than running in the lumber yard.
Yeah, and Grenadians are very good at replicating. So
The old galvanized,
that is really good.
the galvanized that you're going to melt, you use it on the side. You don't have to be sophisticated, but you at one time you incorporate waste as environmental control.
Yeah, and
And the government have the extension officers. Yes, caller, welcome. Yes, caller, welcome. You're a little low. Yes, go ahead.
The solution is not being used. Yeah, that if they took that advice, we would not have been in that trouble. Yeah? Now, you're talking about farmers and young people. We have shut the young people out. Farming is no longer attractive to young people because we did not give them the what they needed to enter into farming. At least we have to show them the money once, but we also have to show them, we have to give them the facilities, the road, the water, the electricity, you know. And in terms of profit in farming, labor is too high for farming today. Yeah? Don't care what you do. If you're going to be doing serious farming and you're going to hire people, the wage scale is really, really too high. Yeah? The returns, you will not see the return for the input as one. Now, in order for you to get a return, a serious return, you have to concentrate on the volume. High volume and not high price is what's going to bring the benefit from. In other words, you go for less, bring you more, and more, bring you less. Now, if you concentrate on high prices and you stick to the high prices, you're not going to get clientele, you're not going to get customer. Yeah? So you're going to have all your projects falling in the field. However, if you have a high volume and you have a high turnover, you will find yourself making a bigger profit over a shorter space of time. So we have to concentrate on not high cost of labor, low cost of labor, high yield, high turnover, and small margin. Yeah? If you go for high margin, eventually you're going to get less because nobody's going to buy your thing. So that's where we are. And it takes me right back to our market. High volume says high market. And if you don't have a market, then it doesn't make sense going for high volume. So you're going to stay in a low volume and high prices, and you get nowhere. So it's complicated. But we have to do what we're supposed to in order to arrive back into farming and to attract young people into farming. We have to have a market one where we can find sale even for the ratoon. Yeah? So high volume, high turnover, high returns, high yield, large market, low price. The smaller your price is and the higher your volume is the more money you make. Higher your price will bring you low volume because you have to be cutting back on your production, and therefore your costs are going to rise. You will make no profit. So we have to concentrate on the higher volume, which is a big market, fast turnover, low prices, so you get consumer to buy. Yeah?
Yes.
Yep.
That is one of the solutions to the problem.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, yeah.
Right, so we're coming to the end of the program, wrapping up. I think we might run a little over time. I really believe that government estate can be turned around and it can be profitable. I think there are 3 or 4 things that needs to be done. The overarching theme that we've been talking about today is accountability. And I believe in order to get accountability, we have to have the proper systems in place, such as appraisal. Now, I also believe that we've set people up in terms of asking them to do things that they're not skilled to do. I believe we have to have a fundamental rethink about the Ministry of Agriculture and how it's run. I believe that the PS or a technical person has to be there that has a business background. I believe all the government estate must have a business plan for the year and they must be held accountable. As you break it down, I think if we look at the subsectors, be it soursop, be it livestock, etc., as Mr. Pierre was advocating, there need to be a specialist who's looking after the technical aspect on the government farm. Yes, there might be an extension officer in St. David or St. Patrick, but the responsibility for that kind of area on government estate is a must, and they must be held accountable. But I also believe that they must be rewarded as well. Overall, that business manager background or PS must deal with the issues of systems like markets. How do we expand the market? How do we do the publicity, etc., so that when we finish in terms of production on that government estate, we can look back and see the trend going up and up. We can see the profit going up and up. We can see happier staff, etc. I really believe that we need that rethink, and it's not radical. It's just to rethink to make things work. So that's my take on it, and I thank you all for letting me talk.
Yes, I believe we have all what we need. We have the exports, we have the extension officers, we have market for cocoa, nutmeg, saursop, we have for small ruminant, sheep and goat, we have a market for that. I believe we can build a local market for flowers and extend it to the hotels.
Yeah.
I believe we have a market for sea moss in Grenada.
Yep.
And because of the long storage life for sea moss, we could gather enough to export.
Yep.
I believe we must provoke discussion. We must continue on that discussion, and we must not afraid to discuss it. Who get hot, get hot. So we want to thank you very much. We encourage you. We don't have much people. Look how much people listen to us on it.
75, it was 75.
Well, that is good, but we want to encourage farmers.
There are 54 now.
And the students in schools, in secondary school in particular, because we provoke discussion. Remember, subscribe, like, share, and talk. Thank you very much.
Isles is alive and well. Ask you questions, sing and beat you drum. Make you suggestions, encourage them on to walk the straight and narrow in the land. Politics, religion, and economic issue, regional, international, spiritual issues too, agricultural, environmental, and trending to subject matter.